In this video, I'm going to do a brief overview of ATP, what it is and what it's for. To start with, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So you have adenosine triphosphate, ATP. It is made out of an adenosine molecule, which is a nucleoside shown in the picture here, plus 3 phosphates. So each of these P groups with the oxygen around them is a phosphate group. Some of the main facts about ATP: it is energy. It is, at least is one source of energy for the cell. There are many, but it is a very important source. It's often called the molecular currency or the cellular energy currency or something like that because it is so important. Energy is stored in the bonds. So right here, these yellow sort of glowing bonds here, that is where the energy is stored, in between the phosphate group bonds. It is produced in the mitochondria, so the organelle, the mitochondria, and it is used in making energy from food into energy for physical movement. The technical wording for that links exergonic to endergonic reactions. A few more things. Cells spend a great deal of their resources and time and effort renewing and using ATP. So when I say renewing, what I mean is putting a phosphate group onto ADP to make ATP again. So remembering that if you have ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate, so you only have 2 phosphates instead of 3, you put it back together when you eat. So if you have ADP with only 2 phosphates plus a phosphate, and you add food, you can make ATP and water. And just as a side note, your body actually does make quite a bit of water from this process. Just obviously not nearly enough, not enough to sustain you or anything, but it does make quite a good amount. So that's how you renew it, or put it back together again, or make it. When we use it, say for exercise or something like that, or just walking or any muscle movement really, we take a phosphate group and it gets plucked off. So here we have adenosine triphosphate with 3 phosphate groups, and one of the phosphate groups, the one on the end, will just get pulled off, and then you'll be left with adenosine diphosphate. So again, 2 phosphate groups. So back to this picture, this bond right here will break, and this phosphate will go away, and you'll be left with adenosine diphosphate because of these 2 phosphate groups, and that releases a good amount of energy. So this diagram right here is sort of a general drawing of what I was just saying. You have adenosine triphosphate. The little circles are the phosphate groups. One of the phosphate groups gets pulled off, and energy is released. And then you have ADP and a phosphate and energy. A particular example of this, or when this occurs, is in glycolysis, is what this process is called. But it's where you take glucose and you make pyruvate. But see right here, you put 2 ATP in, and you get 2 ADP out. So you used 2 ATP. Now over here, in this later part, you were renewing ATP. So ADP went in, so diphosphate went in, and triphosphate came out. So we renewed it. It's called phosphorylated it to its ATP form. And then it happened again here. So ADP went into the reaction, and then ATP came out. Remember, ATP is the form we want. ADP is the used form. So you can see overall here, you used 2 ATP and you got 4 ATP out of it. So you spent 2 ATP and you made 4 ATP, so you got 2 ATP out of it overall. So this process of glycolysis gives you 2 ATP overall, so it creates a little bit of energy.